help me. I'm tired of answering the same questions over and over and over again.
No, help me. My prospect said they need to think about it.
Help me. My product engineer got on the call and she's blowing up this deal. We're talking help. You know I need somebody help. Not just anybody help. Today on Full Funnel. Hey everyone, I'm Raj Nation and he's Tyler Lessard and this is Full Funnel, the weekly show that goes from 0 to 60 slower than every car that's ever appeared in a Fast and Furious movie. Full Funnel is the place where we cover 3 hot topics happening in the world of sales in under 10 minutes, all to help you go out, show out, and fill up your funnel. Let's dig in. Top Funnel.
Hey Raj.
Hey Tyler.
When you are in a deal cycle with a prospect, do they ever ask you, how much will it cost?
Only every single time.
And what about how long is a typical engagement?
I also get that question a lot too.
Any other common questions you get in most of your deal cycles?
You know, who else have you worked with, or what are some examples you can show us? That comes up a lot.
You are not the only one who gets the same questions over and over again in every deal cycle. I'm sure everyone out there listening can relate to that. Now I've got a tip for you, a great way instead of having to freestyle an answer to those each time you're working with a prospect, is create something called the FAQ video. Write down those 4 or 5 questions and make a short video that clearly answers them. Now you've got something with you on camera clearly explaining these ideas. You can proactively send that video to your prospect early in the deal cycle saying, hey, these are a few of the questions I get pretty much every time I work with a prospect. If you could take a few minutes to watch this, it will clearly answer them for you as well, and maybe get ahead of any questions, concerns, or objections you're gonna have later on.
And one thing I did start doing about a year ago was I created a short pre-recorded video walking through different examples of pitch decks that we've created before. And that's been a huge help because it actually cuts time down on the call itself, because I'm just like, I'll send you a video and you can scan through that. I do wanna ask though, what is the line between being able to still be live with them on the call? You can't always just say, hey, I'll send you a video, right? Sometimes like, well, I'm talking to you right now, tell me, right? So how do you balance those two?
Well, you're absolutely right. If you're on a call and somebody says, how does your pricing work? You don't want to say, oh, I'll send you a video for that later. That's an opportunity to have that conversation. I know some sellers who use it as part of an assignment selling process where they will tell a prospect, I am going to need you, they say it in much nicer terms, but to watch this video ahead of our next call because it's going to help you understand a few key concepts and it's going to make our next call a lot more productive because we won't need to spend 20 minutes answering these questions that I can clearly explain to you in 5 minutes in this video I've already made. So I think that's the real magic, is using it proactively to get ahead of those questions as opposed to waiting until they ask them later on in your process.
Mid-fun. Hey Tyler, what's the best part of waking up?
Is it Folgers in a cup?
No. And you know what? In the age of millennialism and Gen Z, where instant coffee is out, we need barista blend, craft batch, small batch, whole beans, okay? Whole beans French press with espresso makers involved. Anyways, no, not coffee. The best part of waking up as a salesperson is spending 47 minutes on a call with a prospect where they ask you 7 pointless questions about integration. And in return, you ask them just one question, and that's, would you like to move forward? And they're like, well, we need to think about it. We'll get back to you. So what's your move here? Because we all face that situation. Well, from my end, I want them to define think about it by saying things like, okay, that's totally fair. What are some of the things in your consideration set right now? Or another approach is to say, typically when I've talked to other customers, when they say think about it, here's what they mean. Is that the case here as well? And you basically give your prospect a framework to answer off of to help better define for you what they're actually thinking about in their head, which can help you better navigate the process moving forward.
Well, you know what, Raj? I actually, when I'm faced with tough questions like this, I like to call the Sales Feed Sales Help Desk. So I'm gonna do that right now here. Hold on a second, let me phone a friend.
Thanks for calling the Sales Help Desk. How can we help you sell more today?
Hey, yeah, whenever I ask for the sale, people tell me they need to think about it.
Sure. And what do you say when people tell you that?
I ask if there's anything I can do to help, and they say no.
And then what happens?
Well, then they ghost me. I never hear from them again.
Yeah, I could have guessed. Try and say this instead. I totally understand if you need some time to think this over. However, when I've heard that from people in the past, it's actually meant one of two things. First of all, they're not really interested, but they're just too nice to tell me. Alternatively, we've missed something important in the conversation here today that they're still unsure about. Which one of those two things is more true for you?
See, I told you, Will always has a great answer. Now, if you liked that, actually make sure you're following Sales Feed on our YouTube and Insta and TikTok channels, because Will is going to be dropping even more sales help desk tips going forward.
Bottom fun. All right, so you're 2 or 3 meetings into your overall sales process, and now you've hit that point where you're pulling in your product engineer to help speak to the more technical side of the product itself to your prospect. Now, 15 minutes in, and this call is just off the rails. Your engineer is giving 5-minute responses to 5-second questions. They're out there telling why the code is built a certain way, et cetera, and they're just blowing up the deal. But you do need them to speak to the technical aspects. So how do you pull in product to actually help your deal and not hurt it?
Well, Raj, thankfully it's never happened to me. Our SEs here are so fantastic. But if it does, one of the things that I like to make sure our SEs always know before the call is a very clear understanding of what their use case is going to be for the solution, making sure they clearly understand where you're trying to go with this deal. And equally important is what to stay away from in this conversation. Are there specific features, products, roadmap items, or questions that you want to make sure don't get discussed on this call because they're possible landmines that could open up an explosion in that deal?
Provide the right context for them. And as part of that discussion, have a game plan for what you're going to cover versus what they are going to cover. Because a lot of times you may want to chime in with something, but the other person takes over the response. So maybe you have a strategy where you say, hey, every time they ask a question, I'm just going to give a quick highlight overview first, and then I'll pass it to you to give the thorough explanation.
A great way to ensure you've always got that right prep information is to actually have a template that has sections to fill out that says, what is their main use case? What are we going to be talking about on this call? Who owns which parts of which conversations, and what things to avoid during this discussion. Those can be great ways to make sure that every call, your SE knows what to look for, and you've got a consistent, repeatable way to have those communications.
The close.
In top of funnel, we talked about the FAQ video and how making one can help you actually accelerate your deals by getting ahead of the questions you know your prospects are going to ask.
In mid-funnel, we talked about how to handle will think about it from your prospect. The key here, don't let that be the end of the conversation. Let that be the start of a new conversation.
And in bottom of funnel, we talked about the importance of prepping your SE or product team when they're hopping on a demo to make sure that they don't blow up all those great things that you've been working on.
We've got resources for all of this content linked below in the episode description if you want to dig in further. But our funnel is full now. We hope you can get back out there now and fill up yours. Please like, comment, and subscribe before you head out of here. He's Tyler Lessard. I am Raj Nation. You have been watching the Help edition of Full Funnel exclusively on Sales Feed. We're about to ride off in our own yellow submarine, and we'll see you next week when we come back around the ocean. Until then, remember, contents of this message are strictly confidential. If you are not the intended recipient or have received this message in error, please discard immediately.